Hello, I'm Scott Turner. I'm the fire chief here in Three Rivers, and today we're here at our fire station and we're going to take you around, show you some things, and try to explain what we do here. How you doing? Firefighting. That covers quite a bit of different subjects. It's more than just house fires or car fires. It covers a lot of rescues, fire prevention, making sure people's homes are safe from fire. It covers community outreach. There's a lot more than like it used to be just firefighting. We try to do as much as we can for the community. I've been the chief for a little over a year now, and I've been on the fire department for almost 20 years. I grew up around firefighting. My father was a firefighter in Bonnayer and then here in Three Rivers. So I kind of grew up around some of the older guys that are here. To me, it means a group of people that are from this town and grew up in this town, and they want to give back to the community as much as they can. And it sounds cliche because you hear it all the time, firefighting, but we have a group of people that are willing to do anything they can to keep either their neighbor safe or even a stranger.
Hello, my name is Dan Daigle. I'm with the Three Rivers Fire Department. I'm one of the volunteers here. I'm a firefighter. I've been on for over 10 years. And right now we're currently in the dispatch area. And I'll be showing you and telling you about how we get dispatched out for any of the emergency calls we have. And what we always carry around with us, either in our house, sitting in a base, or on our person at all times, is a pager, which will then alert us to any emergency tones coming from the dispatch, which is up at the police station. It lets us know information that we need to know about location, what the situation is, whether it's a fire or a car accident, and where we're responding to, and any other critical information that we need to know. This pager here makes a very loud alert tone, which would wake us up in the middle of the night or wherever we're at, and then get us to come to the fire station, which we would then key the mic on the radio to let dispatch know, which is a police station, that we were responding to the call. And then we would proceed to go get donned or putting your gear on, and then approaching into the truck and then getting ready to go and respond to the call. The piece of apparatus that I'm standing in front of is our rescue squad, which we acquired in 2013. As you can see here, we have an image of our newer logo that we'll be presenting out in our patch form and everything else for the Three Rivers Fire Department. This vehicle here responds to any rescue situations, whether it be rope, water, or extrication from someone from a vehicle during a car accident. The person to my right is firefighter Jason Rogers. He'll be assisting me in going through the rescue squad. We'll be going through all the compartments throughout this piece of apparatus and letting you know what is in each one. This longer compartment here is where we store a fire extinguisher and a backboard, which would assist us in removing patients from, let's say, someone had an injury on the trail, and then we had to bring them out. We'd be assisting the ambulance in doing that. This compartment here is where we store all of our rope rescue equipment, which is inclusive of rope bags here, and then we have other pieces of equipment here, which would be like carabiners or pulley systems, anything like that. And then we have more of a personal protective shelf here for knee pads, gloves, etc. With the Three Rivers Fire Department, we recently established a water rescue crew. And in this compartment is where we'll be storing more equipment shortly. And currently right now for the water rescue we have life jackets, we have throw ropes, and soon we'll be getting more. In this compartment here we have some of the electrical lighting equipment. We have a long reel here in order to be able to get into, let's say, a structure fire and then be able to illuminate within the scene. We can see better in there. And also here for any vehicle car accidents, we have speedy dry in order to pick up any fluid spills. In this area of the truck at the rear, this is where two firefighters would enter and then seat themselves towards the front of the apparatus. This piece of equipment right here is called a Stokes basket, which you would use for rope rescues in order to get somebody out of, let's say, the trail again, and then be able to hoist them up if you need to with carabiners and straps, to pull them up vertically. Here we have the jaws of life, and this piece of equipment here is the cutter, which would allow you to cut posts which are in the car in order to help get the roof off. This piece of equipment for the jaws of life are the spreaders, which would allow you to insert into the point where the door is. Let's say there was a car accident which had front end damage and the door is now stuck shut and you cannot open it. You'd be able to put this tool in here and then be able to spread the door apart and open it. This piece of equipment here is called a ram, which would allow you to insert, let's say under the dash of a vehicle that had a car accident and be able to push it forward in order to get the legs out for the victim to be able to be freed. This is one of the pieces or components of our stabilization system. Let's say we had a vehicle that was up on its side. We'd be able to put this system together in order to anchor it and create a stable environment for us to work and extricate a person from a car. This piece of equipment over here is our hydraulic pump, which has all the hoses and connections in order to link up the jaws, all the components, which has power to it and also multiple valves in order for us to run one or both of the sets of systems at the same time. This compartment here is where we have additional tools and tarps in order for us to be able to properly have a scene that's organized. We throw a tarp down, then put the jaws on that. We know that all the pieces of equipment are protected from getting damaged. Up here we have various toolbox. Over there we have a sawzall to be able to cut metal. Here we have axes and what you would also call a Halligan bar. If you want to pull that out, Jay. So here it is. It's a piece of equipment that you have multiple points to be able to do some efficient opening of doors, let's say, or if you have to make a purchase point in order to be able to get a very pointed objects like the stabilization system. We'd make a purchase point with this piece here, and then over here you also have the forked end, which will be able to allow you to get into like a hood and pop the cable and then be able to open it up. In this compartment here we have a few various pieces of equipment. Obviously you have some shop rags to keep some hands clean. We have soapy water bottles here, which allows you to be able to cut the windshield and keep the glass dust down when we're cutting it out for vehicle accidents. Here we have a large piece of equipment here that's motorized. It's called our K12, which allows us to cut metal as it has a rotating abrasive wheel here. We have some throw hooks and we have some large spill containment devices here, which you could throw under, let's say, a vehicle that has a leaking gas tank. We want to make sure it's contained and it doesn't spread out like into a storm drain or into the grass. And down below here we have some air bottles, which are for our SCBA, which we talked further on about, but that's the self-contained breathing apparatus. The devices that we wear on our back, these are air tanks which allow us to breathe with face masks on in structure fires, for example, as there's a lot of contaminants in the air at that point in time. This is the final compartment of the rescue squad, which is on the passenger side of the apparatus, and this contains more stabilization equipment for us. We have step chocks here which allow us to pick up the vehicle, place it underneath to keep more of a stable platform to work from. And then also here we have what we call the airbag system, which allows us to raise up vehicles and stabilize them further.
This is our engine 3. It is a 1976 Dodge Power Wagon, and it's mainly used for any type of wildland fire, brush fires, anything in the woods, roadside fires. And despite its color, it's very functional and a great piece of apparatus. So generally, this would carry 2 to 3 people. It's the normal response to any type of brush fire for this vehicle here. And over here we have the pump panel, and it's set up the same as every other pump. We have everything goes in here, and this determines what goes out. Up above here we have a dry hose reel, and we have a couple hundred feet of 1-inch forestry line. There's no water in it. We can use that to take it out how much we need, and then we can charge it from down here or wherever we decide to connect it. And on the other side is a booster line that is charged with water, and that's also a couple hundred feet. That way we can drag that off, mainly for roadside fires. And in here we have the pump operators panel, and that carries all the equipment that we need for connections, like hydrant wrenches if we have to fill the truck, spare nozzles, and every other type of fitting or adapter that we would need while we're out in the woods. On the back here, there are some of the tools that we use for brush fires. Over here next to Jason, we have a drip torch, and that is filled with a diesel fuel and gas mixture that can be used for various different reasons. One of them being if a brush fire was threatening houses, we could use that to actually start another fire next to the houses that would eliminate the fuel burning between the fire and the house, so essentially saving the house from any damage from the brush fire. Or if we were in an area that had a trail, which would be a natural barrier, and the fire was in an area that was inaccessible, we could actually light a fire on the trail that would burn to the main body of fire and essentially put it out with very little work from us. Next to that, we have what's called an Indian can. It's carried on our backs. It has 5 gallons of water. If Jason, you want to demonstrate how it... As you can see, we carry this through the woods and generally used for inaccessible areas where we cannot get the truck in. And if you want to just spray it a little, show them. It's a very simple operation, but very effective at the same time. Okay. And next to that, we have the chainsaw, and we use this if there's any hazardous trees that run the risk of falling on any firefighter, or even in the future after the fire. If there were hikers, we could cut those trees down and make sure that they weren't posing a danger to anyone in the future or during the firefighting operation. Up here we have what's called a council rake or a fire rake, and this can be used to create a barrier for the fire. Areas in the woods where we have a lot of leaves, if we use this just to pull the leaves away from the fire in the direction that it's burning, and once it gets to that area that we've created a natural barrier, it would essentially go out depending on the size of the fire. And next to that we have what's called a floato pump, and this is basically a portable pump that floats. We can use it in ponds, rivers, anything. We could even use it in somebody's swimming pool if we had to. And we would attach a hose to one side, and we can use that pretty much up to 1,000 feet generally, and it supplies enough water and pressure to effectively put the fire out. And we also carry spare hose in the back and a couple other tools like shovels and additional rakes.
The next piece of apparatus we'll be touring through is engine 1. As we do not have a ladder, this allows us to do engine and ladder operations from one vehicle. We have enough equipment to do both. Jay will be now going through the main sitting area for 6 firefighters, currently pulling out, as I had mentioned before, the SCBA, which is the self-contained breathing apparatus. And now you can see the whole piece of equipment here, which is inclusive of one of the air bottles that I'd showed you on the rescue squad. And we have arm straps here. We have a regulator here, which will also be placed onto the face piece. The next piece of equipment Jay's pulling out right now is the thermal imager, which allows us to find heat signature, which is like in between walls, for example. We don't want to necessarily take the whole wall apart, but we can see if there's any heat transfer going up inside, which would be flames or embers or anything like that, like within a house. Here we are at the engine 1 pump panel, which allows us to distribute and also take in water from, let's say, the hydrant. We also carry 1,000 gallons of water on this tank. And up here we have the pre-connected nozzles here, which allows us to be able to just quickly take the whole element and go towards the fire and just start putting it out. This compartment here stores a lot of our tools. We have bolt cutters, we have hooks here, like let's say if we have to pull down ceilings within a structure fire. We have fire extinguishers over here, various types, a water and also a kitchen type fire extinguisher. And then on the opposite side we have additional. Within this compartment here we have long reels which have electrical outlets, which allow us to do the scene lighting within, let's say, a structure fire of a house. This component here is our hydrant valve. It's already pre-connected to the large diameter hose. We can just pick it up, take it off, place it near the hydrant, and have a man there and then start cooking it up. This compartment here stores some ladders and also long pike poles which have a hook similar to the smaller piece of equipment that we had on this side to be able to pull down, let's say, eaves or soffits on a house or ceilings. Here we have additional speedy dry for if we come across a fluid spill for a vehicle accident. We have electrical extension cords, and we also have a gas operated generator. Here's a compartment that we have a lot of equipment for chimney fires. We have rods up here which allow us to go down into the flue and connect brushes which have various diameters depending on the size of the flue. And we also have a section or a piece of equipment here that is chains, which is connected to a wire or a cable, which we can then clean inside and out and remove any creosote or any other flammable pieces. Jay is currently operating our ladder hoist. And here we have two ladders. This is a roof ladder which has hooks, which allows you to attach to the ridge of any structure that's peaked. And then behind that we have a 3-fly ladder, which is a 36-foot extension ladder. On top we have a small collapsible, what we call a ceiling ladder, which is able to get us into small hatchways or tight conditions in order you can, where you can't fit a normal ladder into. This apparatus that I'm standing in front of is our Engine 2, which is an older piece compared to Engine 1. It's similarly set up to do engine and ladder operations, and oftentimes if a community around us has an issue where they're low on manpower, we will go and sit at their station and do station coverage there to make sure there's protection for their community. We call that the mutual aid system. Here we have the complete ensemble of firefighter would wear in a structure fire. Jay will be demonstrating putting all these pieces of equipment on. We call the coat and the pants typically our bunker gear. And when you arrive at the fire station, once the pager goes off, like I said, we'll be keying the mic to show that we are available and we'll be responding. And then we proceed to our area in the fire station where our bunker gear is, and we will then start putting on our pieces of equipment. In its entirety, once a firefighter gets all the equipment on, it's approximately 60 pounds of extra weight. In the academy, especially if you're rushing, we'd be having an approximate time of mandated 1 minute to be able to get everything on. Here we have the bunker pants, which include the boots. These we have right now in front of us are rubber. We also have leather, and the suspenders. Jay is now putting on a Nomex hood, which would protect your neck. It is made of a fire retardant material. Jay is now putting on the bunker coat, which has multiple layers to it to give us protection from anything that might try to puncture, and also thermal characteristics which prevent heat from reaching through to our body. This includes his flashlight. He also has his gloves on here and various other hooks and straps just in case he wants to carry anything else. More often than not, we'll have our Nomex hood into this pouch here, but this is also our radio pouch where we'll be placing it. This is the helmet here. Jay's putting on the neck strap. Also, there's additional protection here. There's a flap that can come down and protect your neck in addition to the Nomex hood. These are the gloves, which would give us protection to our hands when we're using the tools, and also when we're on the ground or on the floor moving around. This is the SCBA, which is the self-contained breathing apparatus. This provides air in a structure fire to allow us to breathe. He's opening the valve, which now turns on the frame, getting air from the tank, and will now be able to bring air into the regulator. Now Jay is putting on the face mask. He's going to check to make sure that it's totally tight. Putting his hood over it to provide protection all the way around his face. And now he is on air. You can hear him breathing in through the regulator. And if there's ever a situation in an emergency where a firefighter is down, if he does not move, then the frame itself has what we call a pass device, which creates an alert to let other firefighters know the location of any downed firefighter.
Hi, my name is Phil DeLessio. I joined the fire department in April 1st of 1980. I worked my way up through the ranks to retire medically in 2005 at the rank of deputy chief.
I got on in 1969 as a private, and I retired in 1998 as a chief.
I joined the fire department in 1973 and remained on the department until 1986, leaving as captain.
I joined the department in May of 1974. I came on as a private. I retired in 1998 due to basically health issues. When I first got on as a private, it was good. I enjoyed it, it was fun, but like all things in life, as you progress, the fun leaves and now it's more responsibility. And that took some of the fun out of it, but the reason I joined was twofold. I wanted to serve the community I lived in, and my entire life I've strived to surround myself with a certain type of person, men of honor and integrity, and I found that here on the fire department.
I got on the fire department because when we moved to Three Rivers in 1980, a few of my friends lived in the town. And they said to me, how would you like to be on the fire department? So I says, if there's a shot at getting an opening, it's something I'd like to do my entire life. So I spoke to the right people, which was very influential in getting me on the department. They came down, there was a meeting. I was interviewed by the engineers. After the interview was completed, they called me and they told me that you were going to be on the fire department and that you would begin attending the training sessions down in Bloomfield, Connecticut, which is where we all worked at that particular time, as opposed to the Fire Academy in Stowe, which is now currently where they go to train.
The reason I joined was because of my wife. She wanted me to join, and I just never did. When we were living up on South Street, she used to run to the window every time a horn rang, and then Charlie Ramadam, after I bought a house on Ruggles Street in Three Rivers. It was a 9-room Victorian. I remodeled the whole thing. It took me 2 years. And Charlie Ramadam came over. He lived across the street. He came over and asked me if I wanted to join the fire department. And I told him, I said, well, I says, what's it going to involve? He said, not much. He said, won't take much time. I said, well, I said, okay. And so I joined in 1969, and I held every position up to chief in that time.
The reason I joined the fire department is I had a family history that was very involved with the Three Rivers Fire Department, going back to my great-grandfather, who was one of the original business people in town who started the fire department. My grandfather was the first truck driver here on the department. I had an uncle who was the chief, cousins who were firefighters over the years, and having born and brought up here in Three Rivers, I always wanted to give back to the community as a local businessman and a citizen of the town, which is the real reason that I joined the department. Left in 1986 due to family and business reasons, and then served an additional 11 years on the Prudential Committee until 2000, when I moved to Ware and was forced to give up my service here to Three Rivers.
I just wanted to be around that certain type of individual, and I found him here. And still, all these years later, these guys are still some of my best friends. I think we were indeed a band of brothers way back when. I made it up as high as a captain. I was a captain for 2 days, and I didn't want that, health issues and everything else. I told Chief Dworick about that I wanted to go back to being a private. He was kind of pissed off at me for a couple of weeks, but he got over it. But no, basically it was just I wanted to be around a certain type of individual, and the fire and the police in town, they were and still, a lot of them still are my best friends. It was a good effort.
The most noticeable difference that I have seen by virtue of the position I occupied at the end prior to my retirement, which was safety officer in charge of firefighter safety and instruction, was the degree of emphasis placed on the safety of the firefighters. The use of equipment today, which is far superior to what we had. We had the old negative pressure breathing devices back then as opposed to the positive pressure. A lot of the NFPA requirements, the 2-in, 2-out theory coming in, and the overall emphasis on the safety at the fire ground of all parties, both firefighters and personnel at the firefighters as well as the people, has elevated this really to what they call now a fire science. Back then, it was not as sophisticated as it is now, even though the same basic techniques are employed inside the building by the firefighters when they're in there. So I'd have to say the education of the firefighter, the strong emphasis on the safety of the firefighter, and preventing him with far, far better equipment than we had initially here at Three Rivers. Not that it was faulty equipment, but the level of the bunker gear that you wear now, the helmets, everything that you have, the infrared cameras, and so on and so forth, makes it a much safer environment in view of the circumstances that existed back then, even though you still continue to have firefighter deaths, usually which are caused by tragic circumstances beyond the control of the people involved and the equipment that they are given to fight the fires with.
I think the most noticeable difference you see today in the fire service is the technology that's come along, both in firefighter safety and in firefighting techniques and equipment that is available. When you think back to the days that we used to hang off the back of a fire truck, and today everyone is safely ensconced inside the truck, and the equipment that you have to use today is so far superior. And also the amount of education that's required today of new firefighters. We did have excellent education. We'd go to a fire academy down in Connecticut, had excellent in-house training, but today what's mandated is far superior to what we had.
The equipment. When I got on, we had 2 trucks. We had a 1952 Dodge, and we had a 1959 Ward LaFrance, and that was it. And then we got a 1970 Ward LaFrance, and since then we turned that in, and we got a 1974 Hahn. And I went down to Pennsylvania to watch the building of the Hahn, and they start right from scratch. And the equipment, we got Jaws of Life, and which was a big thing. We went down to Ohio and purchased a used rescue truck, and we put the Jaws of Life in that, so every call the rescue truck would go. And then in 1976 we bought a brush truck, so we got a lot of equipment in the time that I was on. In 29 years, we upgraded our M-PACT system, and which was a big thing. We got night hitches, and that's with a jacket and a pair of pants with suspenders that I used to put right by my bed, so that if the call came in, I just jump right into them. And but that was the most thing, was the training and the equipment. Well, I think the most memorable call for me was when the Holbrook building burned in Palmer, and we got called down there for mutual aid. We got called out about 1 o'clock in the morning, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, they thought that they had it out, and it came up through the roof again. And I called into work at just before 6. I called in at 6, a little after 6, and told them, hey, you know, it erupted up through the roof, so I'm going to be here for a while. And we had problems with one of our trucks, and we got it back to the station, and we had somebody come up and look at it, and I didn't get done until it was almost 5 o'clock at night. And I went in the next day, and they weren't too happy. But according to their rule book, that if you were on a fire department, you could go and you get paid for it. I didn't get paid for it. I lost a day's pay. And that was owned by Menasha Corporation out of Wisconsin. And it was, well, maybe 2 months later, I got a check for $1,000 to be given to a nonprofit organization of my choice, and I gave it to the fire department. And at that time, we bought a a carbon monoxide detector, and it was $1,250, and the association put in the other $250. So we had a working unit, and we got called out quite a bit just for carbon monoxide.
The positive experience that I had on the fire department was being a member of the fire department. The camaraderie that we had up here, the ups and downs of the fire department, was probably the most memorable instances through my younger adult life. And as far as memorable experiences, there are so many of them. Some of the large fires that we had here in town, the Nassawana Block in Palmer, the Holbrook building in Palmer, the St. Anne's Church here in Three Rivers. Those are all memorable experiences, but again, the most memorable was the camaraderie and the friendship that we developed here on the fire department.
I was fortunate to be involved in many aspects of the firefighting, both as a firefighter, socially with the groups that were here, but picking an individual event that stands out the most, I would have to say the first fire that I ever entered into the building as an interior firefighter attack occurred over on High and Kelly Street on a given night. And one of the gentlemen you're going to also interview tonight, firefighter Fran Sullivan, who was like a mentor to me, took me into the fire that night. And that was my first real taste of what it was like to be a firefighter on an interior attack. And I would have to say that was one of the greatest highlights I have, because a bond was built as a firefighter and as a friend that night. And no matter where it was or what I did, that man always looked out for me. And I would say this in front of anyone who's ever been here in Three Rivers, that man is one of the best firefighters that's ever come through the door right over here in terms of training and how he deals with his men. And his theory was, if we're going into the building together, we're both coming out together. No one's leaving alone. And that's a credo that he lived by, and he was known for that. And I would rank that as probably one of the highest pinnacles of my career as a firefighter. All the other ones would be secondary to that, and there are many, many of them. And really, we'd be spending a lengthy period of time if I had to talk about them, because I was blessed with a lot of very positive memories of being on this firefighter as a department.
The kid in the river. Seven years old. Pulled him. I was in the boat that took him out of the river, and it just wasn't good. All these years later, it's still not good. That was a bad one. Then there was other. The Springfield paper did an article on my 3 boys and myself that were all in this department at the same time. That was a highlight. And the other thing that I was kind of proud of was, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I was the driving force in starting the auxiliary unit in this department. Good bunch of kids. That was a good time. All of it was a good time. I met some great people. Friends for life.
George, you hear anything I said? George, I had to shake him. He said, what? What's going on? I said, I've been talking to you for 20 minutes. He said, I was sleeping. I said, how can you sleep with one eye open? He would do that.
That was George.
Yeah,
that was George.
He's a legend. The guy, you know, we all missed him and loved him. He is a story in himself about this fire department. You know, the guy was just...
We had a bunch of good guys. There wasn't a bunch. They were just good guys to hang with and call friends.
And we all stuck together. And I think of another incident when we had our muster team. We went everywhere.
Yes.
The only team we had trouble beating was North Brookfield.
Yeah.
But we beat them a couple times, and they were so mad they wouldn't talk to us for a while. But this is not a highlight because one man had to suffer badly. And I coached and I teach anatomy and physiology and things like that. And I have seen injuries before, but the injury this man had was at Brookfield or East Brookfield. Doesn't matter. He pulled a hamstring, and if you were out in the middle of the road out there, you could have heard that thing snap like this. And then the next thing you know, the whole back of his thigh is all black and blue and he's bleeding. And someone says, Francis, I think we should go to the hospital. And you got to understand him. And that saying says, actually, we don't. I'll be fine. Okay. And he did not go. And I got to tell you, 4 months later, his leg was still black and blue. And to this day, he says he's still got the knot. You know, he'd ask him, where do you think it snapped? And I said, I described a few characteristics. He says, that's exactly where it hurts.
North Brookfield.
North Brookfield.
Brookfield.
That's where it snapped, yeah.
But,
those were some fun times, those musters.
oh, and then we had a kids muster team. We had a women's muster team.
Yeah.
And I would say other than North Brookfield, and this is not being cocky or arrogant, I would have to say we had the best muster team other than those guys. Because we didn't lose to too many people.
No.
And it wasn't about losing, it was about having a good time. But when you went down there, make no mistake about it, Everybody, there were egos floating around that were huge, and then Three Rivers would come in and beat these guys who competed in the league, and we beat them, and they go, how do these farmers beat us? And we all look like, I don't know. Must have been a good day.
I still remember I had the nanny goat with the little wagon we built when she was in the parade.
And he took a lot of grief for that we can't mention on TV, so we're gonna let it go with the nanny goat.
Who was it that was marching in the parade up here on Main Street, and he lost the sole of his shoe? Was that you?
Stuck in the tar.
Yeah, it was hot that day.
Oh, yeah, we had fun. I'm telling you.
That was the town anniversary, or the 76th?
It wasn't our 75th anniversary, no.
No, it wasn't ours, but it was either the country's or the town's big
I think it was, yeah.
70,
Gee, we used to-
forget,
we used to have
175th
parades all
or
the time.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
you
Parades.
don't see parades anymore.
No.
And then,
Most of the teams.
even though today this is a bad word, the initiations that used to transpire
Oh,
at the
boy.
picnics down at the bottom of the ski hill, all the rookies would go there for their first picnic and everything like that, and being a victim of some of that stuff there, that was just your way of being bonded or melded into the group. And you know, it was all in fun. Some guys, you know, didn't take it as fun, but it turned out to be in fun. And things like that just knitted the group
The guys
a
up
lot closer together. It
Guys
really-
up on the ski slope were down below. Gee, you think somebody ought to give him his clothes back? Nah, let him suffer.
I know, I certainly don't regret the years that I spent up here.
No, I don't.
No.
You know,
The,
the good memories clearly outshadowed anything that might have been adverse.
If I didn't build a house up in Belchertown, I would have stayed a few years or more.
Yeah.
But being out of town all the time, I couldn't.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Same with me, I moved to Ware in 2000 and couldn't serve living in Ware, so.
No. You know, and every guy that's sitting here before you right now had a job, a family, and a fire department. And it was a real balancing act, but every time the horn would go off, you'd see all the same faces here. You'd see them all at the fire.
You know, all the years that I had the fire phone, not only in my house, but in the store.
Yeah.
And
The old red phone.
the old red phone.
The old red
yeah.
phone.
Call come in, take the call, and you had the button next to the desk in the office
Bingo.
and push the horn and run down
Run
there.
down here and go.
I just lived 150 yards down
Yeah,
there.
you
I
just
just
lived
run
up-
down in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Right when the three boys and I are on, Judy says, sound like an earthquake. The whole house is shaking.
They're all going.
I'm running down the stairs to get over here.
The wives getting up with us and helping us get ready, and
I'm wondering where the hell we are at 3 o'clock in the morning from
I
a
know.
false alarm at 7
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah.